Hey everybody, Dave Costello here, founder and CEO of Jetpack Workflow and host of Growing Your Firm podcast. Today's guest is Jonathan Bello. He is the founder and managing director at 1-8 Solutions. We're going to go through I imagine, broad spectrum of topics here today, but I was really impressed as we're going through the bio when Jonathan was talking about having a operations and project manager role at his firm. So I'm sure we're going to dig into that and so much more. But first, Jonathan, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Well, for people not familiar with your firm, what are the typical services you provide and what's your typical client you do those services for?
So we provide outsourced accounting and bookkeeping services along with advisory services focusing on immediate cash flow for small businesses. They're typically in the, most of my clients right now are in the $5 to $15 million range. And then the next range is in the $1 to $5 million. And we're doing from basic bookkeeping, AP, data entry, bill paying, some receivables, some invoicing for some clients, receive payments. But really where hopefully things stand out is the either monthly or weekly meetings that we have with the client to help them understand what's going on with their business. Let them help them guide them through seeing the financials, and then helping look forward and seeing what we need for money to pay bills, if cash flow is tight. And then in some cases, we're doing budgeting and forecasting with some clients.
All right, I love it. There's so much to dive in just from that. So I love that you defined advisory because we don't always hear that. Sometimes a very elusive term. So when you say immediate cash flow is the core tenet of your advisory work, I guess walk me through a little bit of that deliverable, and I'd love to dig in the monthly, weekly items, but I'd love to learn a little bit more about this immediate cash flow kind of service you offer.
Okay, so generally speaking, I do a run through of the P&L to the balance sheet, then to the cash flow statement that's in QuickBooks Online. Then we are looking either with the cash flow planner tool that's in QBO, or maybe a third-party tool, or just plain spreadsheet and saying, okay, this is what we have in the bank. This is what we're projecting to have come in. Here's a list of the bills that are in the system that are coming due. Here's other recurring transactions. And this is our projection of revenue, if depending if it's not being invoiced, that's going to come in the week. And hopefully at the end, we'll have even more money in the bank than we're spending. That's in a good situation where the client has good cash flow. A lot of my clients have made mistakes along the way, and we're helping them get caught up in that cash flow. So we're also looking at helping them save money towards taxes, getting them to think about that we need to put 20% of the profit away, so for the tax liability that's going to take place at the end of the year and other needs that the business owner may have. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely. And so you see this, and then you get to outline either, potential loans, cost savings, lines of credit. You kind of all these tools at your disposal, but it starts with that kind of assessment.
Yeah, we're typically looking out, 4 weeks doing this. And then if we are looking to start doing some type of financing, I typically bring in a CFO, outsourced CFO partner of mine, because they're actually much better suited at doing that level of service.
Oh,
I know where my knowledge butts up, and I chose accounting over finance for a reason.
Got it. Well, very tactical question. When you loop in the preferred CFO into the client file, does that CFO then invoice the client directly, or do you bill it under your own and then you just pass through his fee, or how does that work?
That's a moving target.
Okay.
Sometimes it's just a referral where it's a direct bill. In some cases, we do value pricing or value added billing. So I may include their costs into the services that we have to offer.
Okay. Well, that actually leads me to my next question. So one of the unique things you do, honestly, is these weekly and monthly meetings. We don't hear that
Mhm.
often enough, and I think it's a huge value add. I'm sure your clients really appreciate it, not only when they say that, but through the retention they probably deliver for the firm. So what is that agenda, and how do you determine if it's a weekly thing or a monthly thing?
Um, it's really, okay, so we'll even take a step back. We go through a detailed assessment, fact finding questionnaire, which is typically, let's say, 6 to 8 hours between discovery, review of their QuickBooks, and then putting together findings and recommendations along with pricing. As part of that findings and recommendation through our discovery, we offer the client the ability to do a review with us on a monthly or weekly basis, and that will adjust our pricing.
Okay.
My suite of tools or reports that I like to use, especially with the P&L, is I generally am presenting two comparisons at the same time. So right now, I'm say doing a comparison of month to date. So through the month of February, we're looking at February through today. We're comparing it to January through the same period and last year's February. So we're trying to help identify trends in growth. So as an example, is labor, your cost of goods sold, is that in line with your increase in revenue? And a lot of times with growing businesses, even with myself, the labor costs will exceed the growth in revenue. So now how does that affect your margins? And many times you actually find that even though we've had an increase in labor costs, our margins are still increasing. And so that's always a good sign. So I'm looking to present trends. It could be typically it's month to date. If it's the beginning of the month, we go and look at the previous month, and then we're looking at a year to date. And then I'm showing them items on the balance sheet so we can start seeing trends. We're starting to look at variances, and we pull it all together, looking at the cash flow statement, showing what our net income is and how there are non-P&L items affecting cash, because most business owners think, hey, I made $10,000. I get zero in the bank. Where did all that money go? And we may show them, well, it may have gone out as draws in many cases. So, I have a set standard of reports, and then we migrate looking at our agings, seeing what's potentially coming in and what's going out. And then we start to do our projection. And that appointment typically takes an hour to an hour and a half.
Got it. Well, you mentioned something earlier. I think it's really important. Is with that time commitment, with the value add that you're delivering in this meeting, it's that you're doing value added pricing. What is the it could be contextual on the client, of course, but what is the typical price or range of prices that you have for your clients today? And I'm sure it depends on weekly versus monthly, but what's the typical range?
Right now, I would say our average monthly revenue from what we could call a monthly controller level package is about $2,500.
Yeah.
We have some clients that we actually are doing weekly billing for, because we're doing a lot more services. We're meeting with them weekly. I've got a team of multiple people being able to work on the account, from a lead accountant down to an intern. So in that case, their fees are exceeding that 2,500. We basically have three packages. One is called the bookkeeper package, which starts at $600. Then the accountant package or accounting department package, and then the control level package, which is the one that includes the cash flow forecasting and other services too.
Yeah, amazing. Well, to switch gears a little bit, we mentioned at the beginning of the interview, you've hired this role, which I think is really going to start to become a trend in the industry, which is the project manager and operations manager. So unpack that a little bit for us. Why did you hire them? What was it like to find that person, and what are they doing at the firm?
Okay, so I've been very blessed during this crisis and the shortage of talent, in that I have been able to find people organically. My operations manager, who is a senior person, he has a ton of experience, both at the C level or president level, down to the controller level. And he had a change where he was out in Western Massachusetts working in the Berkshires, and he moved back here with his wife because of the organization that they had was very tourist bound, and people just were not traveling to the facility. So they moved back to the Boston area, and he was in a networking group with me. So he reached out to me, and he reached out to me at a time where I was trying to implement my new workflow management solution, and I needed assistance in doing it. So I hired him on as an accountant slash operations manager. He's actually doing, he handles 2 clients. One is an international client where we're doing some very complicated accruals for them. And then subsequently, about a month ago, I was talking to a friend of mine, and I had expressed an interest if she would like to learn bookkeeping because she was in between stuff. She said yes. And then in really having a true conversation with her, I realized what process workflow experience she had. So she has come on as the person who's actually helping me build out our workflows. Larry is supposed to be the person who is, as the operations manager, is supposed to monitor those workflows. So I've actually separated the person who has more capability in building them out and understanding them from the person who will not manage them and then QC the work. We want to make sure that the financials are accurate. And so he's going to go in and look at those financials because he's got the background to do that.
That's amazing. If you don't mind sharing, what was the networking group that you were part of that you were able to meet this gentleman from?
It's a small networking group. It's local. It's called My Pinnacle Network, or MPN. And it's a once-a-month group. We meet for about an hour and a half. It's about, let's say, 20 people on the average. And it's actually it's almost like more of a roundtable conversation where when we're doing the elevator pitches or saying what's new with our company, very often people will interrupt and ask questions or contribute to that, and it's encouraged.
Yeah, well,
I'm also a member of Provisors, which is
because that's literally where I was going. I was going to say, as by extension of the network, I mean, I see the Provisor thing because I think something we underappreciate is the value of our networks. And you may have found great talent in your network. So yeah, I'd be curious of what your experience, and look, Intuit's not sponsoring the show. We're agnostic here, but I'd love to hear about your experience working with these various networking groups that you're in.
So the other net group is called Provisors, which is a national group. It also meets once a month for an hour and a half. And the motto is know, like, refer. And one of the things with this group is you have a home group. You can go visit any of the other home groups. They have affinity groups that specialize in certain subject matter that meet also on a monthly basis. And I could go out to California virtually and sit in one of their groups. Now, jumping to the Pro Advisor side of this.
So Provisors, totally different from Pro Advisors.
So I have been a QuickBooks Pro Advisor since 2001. I've been working with QuickBooks Desktop since 1995. I got listed on the Find a Pro Advisor website probably about 2001 when they came out with the program or came out with the website. And I used to look at everybody that was on that site as my competition. Through my involvement in the Wooded Group or the Wooded Alliance, I have come to realize that we are compatriots. And so now I head up with Heather Satterley, we're co-chairs of the Boston Providence Wooded Alliance or Wooded Group. And then attending other peer groups, I belong to a thing called Roundtable. I have another client, another peer who does a thing called Hot Topics. I have another peer who does a report and data analytics group. So not only professional networking where you're working with other people in other industries, but also other pro advisors, and the camaraderie and the information sharing among these different groups has been absolutely phenomenal, and really has shown me that as the old BNI network goes, givers gain, by giving to my peers and sharing my knowledge, such as I am doing now, I get it back in other ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to give the audience an opportunity to reach out and say thanks here in a second. But we're shooting this middle of February in 2022. COVID is still lingering around, so I want to ask: are you in office, totally virtual? You hybrid? What's the current setup with the firm?
This is my third business, and I have never rented office space in my life. I've always worked from my home office. Now, I had a home office, which doesn't look as nice as the virtual background behind me. It's pretty messy. And to my left over here used to sit my right-hand person, my bookkeeper, who does my books, and he has not been in 2 years. So, like my clients, I myself have gone to the virtual remote modus, operations. I will, if I don't go out to see a client again, I'm fine with that. I do like to go out, like I have a potential new manufacturing client. I think it's important at some particular point that I go out and see their shop and see how it operates. I think at once or twice a year, you should go see your clients if possible, but that weekly grind of traveling to a client, we'll never do that again. And I have one of my team members is out in Riverside County.
All right.
Most of my people are local.
Yeah. Very similar boat. Well, Jonathan, this has been a lot of fun. We covered a lot of ground in just 25 minutes. If somebody wants to reach out, say thank you, ask you a question.
Did we already go through 25 minutes?
Yeah, I think we got to go round two. So the audience, you got to reach out, ask me questions, ask Jonathan questions. Maybe we've got to go round two here. But if somebody wants to reach out, say thank you, learn about you, your firm, everything you're involved in, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Probably through email. You can get to at least a general email address from my website, and I'll be glad to give it here. It's jbello, JBELLO @ONE-8.com. And if need be, I'll respond with a link to my Calendly so we can set up a Zoom call.
Awesome. I love it. And if you couldn't jot down all the notes from today's episode, I mean, we covered a lot of ground, like I just mentioned, 25 minutes. We're going to link up everything.
It flew by. It felt like we just started 2 minutes ago.
There we go. Yeah. And if you couldn't jot everything down because it was kind of rapid fire of everything we went through, you can always go to jetpackworkflow.com/blog, jetpackworkflow.com/blog. We'll link up your website. We'll do a summary. We'll link up everything there. If you really enjoyed this episode, please leave a review. It helps us get the word out. And if you really, really enjoyed the episode, share it with a fellow firm owner that needed to hear something that Jonathan said today. That's the best way to say thank you to the both of us. Jonathan, thanks again for coming on.
My pleasure again. So we didn't get